Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector. And imagine it's the future and you've sold all of your original hardware. Everything from your Nintendo to your Super Nintendo, your N64, your Wii. You sold your Dreamcast and your Sega Genesis. You sold your PlayStation 1 all the way through PlayStation 3 and 4. You've gotten rid of all of your Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, DS, and 3DS consoles, and you've decided that you were going to go ahead and choose an emulation device to play all of your video games. You said, you know what? I am done with this retro hardware stuff. I am ready to move on to the next phase of life and enjoy some hearty emulation. And you go and you pick up your emulation device, and it's preloaded with a bunch of games that are fun, games that you'll enjoy, some of the more popular titles that you remember from being a child, or even some of the titles that you had in your original collection. And you say to yourself, you know what, I am still missing some games that I really want to play. I actually want to add some PlayStation 2 games to this emulation device. Or you know what, I think I want to go ahead and download some GameCube games. And so you go to your preferred website where you would normally download your emulators or your ROMs or whatever the case may be. And when you type in the name of that website, what loads up is a humongous flashing red warning screen that tells you that this website is being monitored by the FBI and that any interaction with this website will be deemed as piracy. And that bright flashing red warning tells you to exit from the website immediately or be considered as someone who is trying to engage in piracy. And so you leave that website and you say, well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and try a different website. My friend told me about this other emulation site. I'm going to go here to see if I can get some ROMs. And so you go to the other website and you get that same bright red flashing warning right on the homepage, letting you know that you are attempting to access pirated software. Any continued use will be considered an act of piracy. Exit now immediately. And you try 3 or 4 more websites and discover that all of the sites that you used to be able to go to download ROMs or emulators are now shut down. So you say to yourself, you know what? All right, cool. Well, this is what I'll do then. What I'll do is I'll go on eBay or I'll go on Amazon and I will find a flash cart, or I will find some type of device that already has all of these games downloaded onto them. So I am going to just do it that way. But when you go to eBay and you go to Amazon, you realize that all of those listings have been removed. They've been taken down, or even worse, the stores that sell these devices have been put out of business. This is the future that I sometimes see when I think about getting rid of all of my original hardware. There's a part of me that's afraid that at some point there will be this type of dogmatic, almost dystopian approach to how we're able to access video games in the future. And what's making me think about this is the story that I heard about a YouTuber, a gentleman who I believe is out of Italy, who talked about and reviewed emulation devices. And so I guess the Italian government went in and seized his devices and basically is investigating him for piracy. Now, I understand I don't live in Italy. I don't know where you're viewing this video from. I know that I have viewers from all over the world. But what I do know is this: when a corporation, or when a large enough corporation decides that they want to shut something down, there's very little that you or I can do to stop it, because they have enough power, they have enough money, and they have enough resources to not only battle you in court, but they also have enough reach to influence government, right? And one of the reasons why I realize this is because I look at, for instance, the drone industry. Right now, there is an actual ban on any drones coming in from Asia. right? So in the United States, we cannot buy any DJI drones. Um, it was deemed as to be some type of a homeland security issue. And I think there was another issue that was tied to it. I can't remember right now. But the long story short is that now, here in the United States, for many of us who do like to use drones, this ban has made it increasingly difficult just to get one. Additionally, thanks to, certain things like tariffs, now other electronics like lenses, like cameras, things of that nature, it's become more difficult and a lot more expensive to get some basic electronics. And so if companies decide, hey, you know what, these emulation devices are detrimental to the viability of our companies, if they decide, you know what, these emulation devices and the people who sell them are a threat to what we do, they can then begin to lean on government and lean on the entities that allow these devices to be imported or even sold on the very platforms that we buy them from. And it would really suck if at some point I decided to get rid of all of my original hardware only to find out that I can no longer access emulation as freely as I once thought that I could. And in order for me to get all of my original hardware back, guess what? Now it's 3 times the price. Do I think that in the long run, in the far long run, that there will be another spike in the value of retro games and the price of retro games? I do think in the long run that will come. And what I think will spark that spike will be the moment that video game publishers, video game companies decide to really put the clamp down on websites and companies that have made a living off of selling pirated software and the devices that allow people who enjoy emulation to play that pirated software. I think once emulation becomes more difficult to obtain and to engage with, the people that genuinely care about going back and playing some of these older games will be forced to revert back to getting original hardware. That's just my opinion. The reason why I feel that way is because I see it happening in other industries. I see it happening in the fashion industry. We've seen it happen with companies like Nike. Nike loves to sue people. They love to sue people for stealing their ideas, their IP, for making sneakers that resemble some of their flagship sneakers, and they are putting the clamps down rather, on not only the companies that are creating these products, but the websites that are distributing these products. Websites like StockX and GOAT. Nike is coming after everyone that is a threat to the viability of their business. And a lot of people might say, well, why would Sony or Nintendo care about older games that they no longer produce or sell? Well, they might start to care if they decide to create their own one-stop shop for all things retro. Who's to say that one day in the future Nintendo won't decide to create some type of online platform that allows you to access every single Nintendo game ever made? Sure, they're not doing it now because it's not profitable now, or it's not profitable enough. It's probably not a part of their business plan. But there is nothing to say that all of Nintendo's, intellectual property that they own, or all of, Square Enix, or From Software, or any of these places, there is no reason. There's nothing that says that there won't be a day where they will have their own online repositories of all their games, and they make it a one-stop shop for people who want to play those games and charge you a monthly fee. And if they do go that route, that is when emulation will be a considerable threat to that business model. And you better believe that they will go in and try to shut that down. Now, these are just my opinions. And these are the reasons why, as much as I want to dive headfirst into emulation, I am very hesitant because something in the back of my mind tells me, hang on to your original hardware and hang on to your original games, at least the ones that you care about. Everything else, I don't, if it's not a game that I care about, then that's fine. But the games that you care about, hang on to them just in case. Now, I'm interested to know your thoughts with this. I'm interested to know what the people are thinking about the situation that happened in Italy. Do you think that this is something that could happen everywhere, both in the United States, the UK, wherever? I'm interested to know your thoughts. And how does this make you look at original hardware today? Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.